Kale had always loved the forest near his home. The tall, silver-leaved trees swayed gently in the wind, and the soft moss under his feet made every step feel like floating. He ran through the woods, his laughter echoing against the distant hills, as if the forest itself joined in his joy. Beside him, Leora ran too, her golden hair catching the sunlight like threads of fire. Even at 10 years old, she carried a quiet confidence that made Kale admire her more than he could ever put into words. They had been friends for as long as they could remember, and their days were often filled with games, exploring, and pretending the world. Beyond the colony was a vast universe waiting for them. Today, like most days, they were racing to see who could reach the top of the hill first. Kale, despite being a bit faster, slowed down to let Leora catch up. She grinned at him, her sharp eyes sparkling with mischief. "You're cheating," she said, panting. "You slowed down." "No, I just wanted to enjoy the view with you." In the distance, the twin moons of Urindor glimmered even in daylight, a reminder of the mysteries that lay beyond their small world. Kale sat down on the soft grass, catching his breath. Leora flopped beside him, looking at the horizon with a dreamy expression. There was a moment of silence, one of those quiet pauses where it felt like the world itself was holding its breath. "I wish we could stay like this forever," Leora said softly. "Just you and me, exploring, laughing, not worrying about anything else." "What? You better keep your promise." Kale grew taller, stronger, and more confident. His curiosity about the universe only deepened, and he spent long hours studying star charts, learning about engineering and dreaming of adventure. Leora, meanwhile, blossomed into a young woman of remarkable intelligence and grace. Even as she learned the ways of politics and diplomacy on her homeworld of Cyrentha, she never lost the spark of her childhood laughter. Kale often thought of their promise, tucked away in the corner of his mind like a forgotten treasure. Life on the colony was not always easy. Resources were limited, and the neighboring alien species sometimes brought challenges that tested human ingenuity. Kale excelled in finding solutions, fixing machines, and creating small inventions that made life easier for the colonists. His friends often teased him, calling him a problem solver, but Kale wore the title proudly. One evening, Kale was working on a new energy converter he had been building in his small workshop. The soft hum of machinery filled the room, and sparks danced from the welding torch in his hands. Suddenly, his communicator beeped. He wiped his hands on a rag and activated it, expecting a routine message from the colony council. Instead, a holographic figure appeared before him, and Kale froze. It was Leora, but not the child he remembered. She was regal, confident, and wearing the intricate robes of a queen. Her eyes, still warm and familiar, now held the authority of a ruler. "Kale," she said, her voice steady, "do you remember the promise you made me? It was a long time ago. You must honor your promise." The next morning, Kale packed his belongings. He left behind the familiar sights of his colony, the towering forests, the sparkling rivers, the homes of his friends. Every step toward his shuttle felt heavier with anticipation. He checked the systems one final time, making sure everything was in perfect order. Humans were known for their resilience and problem-solving, and Kale intended to demonstrate both in the days to come. As his shuttle lifted off, leaving the green world of Urindor behind, Kale looked back one last time. He whispered a silent promise to the colony, to himself, and to Leora. He would reach Cyrentha, he would face whatever challenges awaited, and he would honor the vow made in the innocence of childhood. The stars stretched out before him, vast and endless. His small shuttle darted between glowing asteroids and shimmering nebulae, navigating through the hazards of space with precision and care. Kale marveled at the beauty around him, the way the light bent across distant planets, the way comets left trails like silver threads, and the way human ingenuity had allowed him to travel so far from home. But space was not without its dangers. A sudden meteor shower forced Kale to maneuver sharply, testing every ounce of his skill. Sparks flew from the shields of his shuttle as he weaved between the incoming rocks. For a moment, fear gripped him, but he steadied his breathing, recalculated his trajectory, and successfully avoided disaster. This was the first of many trials he would face, and he felt a quiet pride in knowing that humans could survive and thrive even in the most hostile environments. After hours of travel, Kale entered the outer systems near Sirentha. The planets here were unfamiliar, with towering crystal structures and skies that shimmered with colors he had never seen before. Alien ships passed by, observing him with curiosity. Kale knew that his actions and decisions could have consequences beyond his imagination. He was not just a boy who had made a promise. He was a human, representing ingenuity, courage, and the potential of his species. Finally, Kale's shuttle approached the capital of Sirentha. The planet's surface was a dazzling sight, floating cities, glowing rivers of energy, and towers that seemed to reach into the clouds. Leora's palace floated above it all, a massive structure of silver and crystal, pulsing with life as if it were aware of its queen's presence. Kale's shuttle landed gently in the designated area. He stepped out, feeling the weight of the moment pressing upon him. Soldiers and courtiers observed him silently, their eyes full of curiosity and respect. And then, as he walked toward the grand palace doors, he saw her, Leora, the girl he had promised to marry, now a queen who commanded the loyalty of an entire planet. She approached him with a smile, one that carried the warmth of childhood memories and the strength of her current power. "Kale," she said softly, "welcome to Sirentha. You have kept your promise by coming here. Now the real journey begins." Together, they would face the unknown, and perhaps, in doing so, humanity would prove once again that it was a force to be respected across the stars. As he followed Leora into the palace, Kale could not help but think of the hilltop where it all began. A simple promise made by two children had grown into something far greater than he had ever imagined. And as he took the first steps into a future filled with uncertainty and wonder, he felt ready. He would honor the promise, face the challenges, and show the galaxy the strength, ingenuity, and heart of humanity. The stars outside glimmered like distant friends, and Kale knew that this was only the beginning of a journey that would change everything, for him, for Leora, and for all the humans who dared to reach for the stars. Kale's shuttle hummed quietly as it moved away from the sparkling cities of Urindor. The vastness of space stretched out in every direction, filled with stars that twinkled like diamonds scattered on black velvet. For the first time in his life, Kale felt the true enormity of the universe. He had studied star charts, read stories about distant worlds, and dreamed of adventure, but nothing could have prepared him for the reality of traveling through the galaxy alone, with only his skills and human ingenuity to guide him. The journey to Sirentha would not be simple. Kale knew this. There were regions of space filled with rogue asteroids, energy storms, and alien patrols that were not always friendly. Yet, despite the dangers, a fire burned inside him, a determination to honor his promise to Leora, to face the unknown, and to prove that humans were capable of greatness in ways others often overlooked. His first challenge came sooner than expected. As Kale navigated through a belt of asteroids, sensors suddenly blared warnings. A cluster of massive rocks, larger than his shuttle, hurtled toward him at incredible speed. Kale gritted his teeth, hands moving quickly across the control panel. He calculated trajectories, adjusted shields, and maneuvered with precision. A rock scraped the side of his ship, sending sparks flying, but Kale remained focused. With a final burst of thrusters, he shot through a narrow gap between two enormous asteroids. He let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Humans really are something else," he muttered to himself, a small smile forming. The danger had been real, but Kale's combination of intelligence, intuition, and courage had carried him through. It was moments like this that reminded him why humans had survived and thrived in a galaxy filled with far stronger and faster species. Adaptability and quick thinking were human strengths, and Kale was determined to use them to their fullest. As he emerged from the asteroid belt, the stars opened into a calm region of space. The silence was almost deafening after the chaos he had just faced. Kale took a moment to adjust, checking his navigation systems and reviewing the route to Sirentha. It was a long journey, and he knew that every decision could mean the difference between life and death. Several days passed. Kale's routine became a careful balance of maintenance, navigation, and observation. He checked life support systems, repaired minor malfunctions, and monitored energy levels, making small improvements wherever he could. Despite the solitude, he never felt truly alone. The memory of Leora's face, the warmth of her smile, and the seriousness of her demand filled him with determination. Every mile he traveled was a step closer to fulfilling a promise that had begun on a hilltop years ago. But space had more surprises in store. One evening, as he drifted through the dim glow of a nebula, sensors detected an unidentified ship approaching. It was sleek, black, and unlike any human craft he had ever seen. Kale's pulse quickened. He knew that some alien factions were hostile to humans, and he had to be prepared for anything. The ship sent a transmission. Kale activated his communicator. The voice on the other end was cold, unfamiliar, and mechanical. "Human vessel, identify yourself. You are entering restricted territory." "I mean no harm. I can adjust my course to avoid your territory if you wish. But I ask for safe passage, as my mission is personal, not political." He adjusted his course slightly, maintaining a safe distance from the alien vessel. It was a small victory, but it reminded him that in a galaxy full of unknowns, intelligence and calm thinking were as important as courage and strength. The journey continued, with new challenges presenting themselves each day. Kale faced cosmic storms that buffeted his shuttle, requiring quick calculations and adjustments to shields. He navigated through fields of drifting satellites and abandoned space stations, remnants of civilizations long gone. Every obstacle tested his skills, patience, and ingenuity. During one long night, Kale allowed himself a moment of reflection. He thought about Leora, not just as a girl from his past, but as the queen she had become. He imagined her standing before her council, making decisions that affected millions. He realized that she was not only powerful because of her title, but because of her vision, courage, and determination. She had grown into a leader he could respect, and he felt a growing sense of admiration for her. Kale also thought about the promise they had made as children. At first, it had seemed like a simple, playful vow. But now, facing the vastness of space and the dangers it held, he understood its deeper meaning. Promises were not just words. They were commitments, bonds that could guide actions, inspire courage, and define character. And Kale intended to honor this one, no matter the cost. After weeks of travel, Kale entered the outer systems of Sirentha. The planets here were strange and beautiful, with towering crystal formations and skies that shimmered with colors he had never seen before. Alien ships moved gracefully, observing him with quiet curiosity. Kale felt a mix of awe and caution. Every step forward brought him closer to his goal, but also deeper into unknown territory. He landed on a small outpost near the capital, a hub for travelers and merchants. The outpost was bustling with species of all shapes and sizes, from towering beings with translucent skin to small, winged creatures that darted through the air. Kale walked among them, careful to observe their customs and respect their ways. He knew that humans could stand out in the galaxy not just through strength, but through respect, intelligence, and adaptability. In the market, he saw a variety of goods: glowing fruits from distant planets, tools that defied human engineering, and fabrics that shimmered like liquid light. Kale was fascinated. He realized that every challenge he had faced in his journey had prepared him for this moment. Humans had a way of learning, adapting, and finding solutions that made them respected even among far older civilizations. While exploring, Kale received a message from Leora. Her holographic image appeared, regal and composed, yet her eyes held the warmth he remembered. "Kale," she said, "you have traveled far and your journey shows the qualities I respect: courage, intelligence, and resilience. But your challenges are only beginning. Sirentha is a world of complexity, and you must prove yourself not just in travel but in understanding and wisdom. Are you ready?" "I will do whatever it takes to honor my promise." That night Kale sat under the alien stars, staring up at the glittering sky. He thought of his home, of Urindor's forests, and of the hilltop where he and Leora had made their childhood vow. The universe was vast, full of dangers and wonders, but Kale felt ready. He had survived asteroids, negotiated with alien patrols, navigated storms, and adapted to unknown worlds. He had done all this through determination, intelligence, and the unique human ability to never give up. As he prepared for the final leg of his journey to the capital of Sirentha, Kale reflected on what he had learned. Humans were small compared to the vast civilizations of the galaxy, but their creativity, courage, and ability to think beyond the obvious made them formidable. Every problem, every challenge, every danger had taught him something new, and with each lesson he felt more confident, not just in his mission, but in himself and in what humans could achieve. The stars stretched endlessly before him, a sea of possibilities and dangers. Kale knew that his arrival at Sirentha would mark the beginning of another series of challenges, testing everything he had learned and everything he had become. Yet he did not fear them. The journey had already shown him the strength of human spirit, and he was ready to prove it again, for himself, for Leora, and for humanity. Kale's shuttle hummed as it moved forward, steady and determined. The galaxy awaited, full of wonders and dangers, but Kale was not afraid. He had journeyed far, learned much, and faced every obstacle with courage and ingenuity. And as he neared the glowing towers of Sirentha, he knew that the true test was only beginning. But he was ready to meet it, with the heart of a human and the promise of a boy who had once said, "I'll marry you someday." He felt a mixture of awe and nervousness. The palace was alive with movement, its walls subtly glowing and shifting, as if the building itself were breathing. This was no ordinary place, and Kale knew that every step he took inside would test not only his skill but his courage and character. As he stepped out of the shuttle, Leora awaited him on a platform that extended from the palace's entrance. She was taller than he remembered, regal and confident, her golden hair flowing like sunlight. She wore the ceremonial robes of her office, but there was a warmth in her eyes that reminded him of the girl who had once laughed with him on a hilltop. "Kale," she said softly, her voice carrying authority without harshness, "you have traveled far to reach me. I am proud of your journey, but arriving is only the first step. Sirentha demands more than courage in travel. It demands wisdom, compassion, and ingenuity. Are you prepared for the challenges ahead?" "I will do whatever it takes." Kale was careful to take in every detail, knowing that observation and understanding were just as important as action. The first test came almost immediately. Leora led him into a council chamber where alien leaders from different planets were gathered. They argued in languages Kale did not understand, their gestures sharp and impatient. It was clear that tensions were high. A disagreement over trade routes threatened to escalate into conflict. Leora turned to Kale. "You must find a way to ease this tension. Use your understanding, your insight, and your human perspective. Show them that compromise is possible." It was not about physical skill or navigating through danger. It was about communication, empathy, and intelligence. He studied the body language, the tone, and the gestures of the leaders. Drawing on what he had learned from humans' own history of negotiation, he stepped forward and began to speak. Using simple gestures and clear words translated through the palace's language system, Kale demonstrated a solution, a new trade route that would benefit all parties equally. He emphasized fairness, safety, and the shared benefits of cooperation. At first, the alien leaders looked skeptical, but as Kale explained calmly and logically, the tension in the room slowly eased. By the end of the discussion, the council agreed on a plan, nodding at him with respect. Leora smiled at him. You see, Kale, humans have a way of finding solutions where others see only conflict. Your mind, your reasoning, your ability to empathize, they are strengths that even the oldest species respect. He realized that this was exactly what she had seen in him all those years ago, the ingenuity and courage that humans carried in their hearts. The next test came in a different form. Leora led him through twisting corridors that seemed to shift with every step. Some paths opened, others closed, and the palace itself seemed to challenge his perception of reality. At the end of one corridor was a large chamber, dimly lit, with a series of floating platforms suspended over a deep chasm. The platforms moved unpredictably, and Kale knew that stepping on the wrong one could result in a fall into the unknown. This is a test of courage and adaptability, Leora said. You must reach the other side. Your mind and reflexes will be tested, but also your ability to remain calm under pressure. He fell once, gripping a ledge just in time, but he did not panic. His hands were steady, his mind clear, and his heart determined. Finally, he reached the other side. Leora was there, her eyes bright with approval. You see, Kale, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to act despite fear. Humans have the strength in ways few others do. Leora led him to a chamber filled with memories, not just hers but their shared past. Holographic images of their childhood appeared, running through the forest, laughing by the rivers, playing games, and making the promise that had brought him here. You must face these memories, Leora said gently. You must understand that the bond between us is not just a childish vow. It is a connection that requires honesty, respect, and understanding. Are you ready? The chamber shifted, projecting scenarios where Kale had to make choices that tested his integrity, empathy, and wisdom. One scenario showed him choosing between saving himself or helping a group of alien children trapped in a collapsing structure. Kale did not hesitate. He acted to save them, using his engineering skills and quick thinking to stabilize the environment and ensure their safety. Another scenario involved a political dilemma where choosing the right course required understanding both sides and finding compromise. Kale carefully analyzed the situation, applied logic, and offered a solution that respected everyone's needs. The chamber's lights pulsed, signaling approval. Leora's voice echoed softly in the chamber. You have demonstrated not only courage and intelligence, Kale, but also heart. You have shown what humans are capable of when they act with both mind and conscience. This is why I asked you to come. You are worthy of the promise, not because it was made long ago, but because of the person you have become. He realized that the journey to this point had not just been about reaching Sirentha, but about discovering the best parts of himself and the strengths of humanity. Humans were small in the galaxy, often underestimated, yet they carried a unique combination of adaptability, courage, and compassion that could shine even in the most challenging circumstances. As he left the memory chamber, alarms suddenly blared throughout the palace. An intruder had breached the outer perimeter, a group loyal to Leora's enemies, intent on destabilizing her rule. Kale's mind went immediately into problem-solving mode. He remembered the lessons from his journey: stay calm, observe carefully, and use every resource at hand. He grabbed a portable tool from his satchel and quickly analyzed the palace's security system. Using his human ingenuity, he rerouted power, activated defensive measures, and created barriers that slowed the intruders. Then, with careful precision, he trapped them in a section of the palace where they could do no harm. Leora appeared beside him, eyes wide with respect and amazement. Kale, you have saved the palace and me. Once again, humans prove themselves not just by strength but by intelligence and courage. You truly are extraordinary. It was another reminder that humans, though small in size, could accomplish feats that astonished even the most powerful species. That evening, after the palace had been secured, Kale and Leora walked through the garden suspended in the air. Bioluminescent plants glowed softly, reflecting on the water streams that floated in midair, creating a scene both magical and serene. "You have passed the tests, Kale," Leora said softly. "Not because you were perfect, but because you acted with integrity, courage, and ingenuity. These are qualities that humans carry, and they are what make you remarkable in the galaxy. I am proud of you. Not just about you or Cyrintha, but about myself and what humans are capable of." He understood that this was more than a personal test. It was a statement to the galaxy. Humans, though young in the cosmic stage, were capable of great things through courage, ingenuity, and heart, and he was ready to face whatever came next, standing beside Leora, the girl he had promised long ago, now a queen who needed him as both ally and partner. As the night sky shimmered above them, Kale felt a quiet but unshakable sense of purpose. He had reached Cyrintha, passed every test, and proven the strength of his humanity. The real challenges were still ahead, but he was ready, not just to honor a promise, but to shape the future alongside a queen who had grown as much as he had. The stars twinkled like distant witnesses, and Kale knew that the journey of courage, ingenuity, and human spirit was far from over. But he was ready. Cyrintha was only the beginning. Kale had never seen a palace so alive. Cyrintha's floating towers shimmered with energy, the walls subtly changing color as if sensing the thoughts and emotions of those inside. He walked beside Leora through the grand corridors, each step echoing against the crystalline floor. After the tests he had passed, he thought the challenges were over. He was wrong. The real trials were only beginning. Leora led him to a command center at the heart of the palace. Holographic maps of Cyrintha and surrounding star systems hovered in the air, pulsing with alerts. Alien leaders, diplomats, and strategists surrounded them, murmuring anxiously. "Kale," Leora said, her tone serious, "our peace is fragile. Some factions see my rise as a threat, and they are not afraid to use force. I need your help to ensure Cyrintha remains safe and that our alliances hold." There were pockets of unrest, ships gathering near border systems, and messages of rebellion from distant colonies. It was overwhelming, but he reminded himself of what had carried him this far: observation, calculation, and human ingenuity. He scanned the data, identifying patterns, weak points, and opportunities for diplomacy. "We can prevent conflict before it begins," he said confidently. "If we show them a better path, one that benefits all, we can avoid unnecessary battles." He spoke with alien leaders, listened to their concerns, and offered compromises that no one had considered. Slowly, tensions began to ease. Ships turned away from contested systems, and messages of cooperation replaced threats. Kale realized that humans had a unique advantage in situations like this. Other species often relied on raw power or ancient traditions, but humans could adapt quickly, learn from each situation, and act creatively. It was a skill born from survival and necessity, one that had allowed them to thrive even in dangerous environments. But just as Kale felt confident, the alarms blared again. A massive object appeared on the outer edge of Cyrintha's atmosphere. An ancient weapon, long thought deactivated, had been reactivated by enemies seeking to challenge the Queen's authority. Its energy readings were staggering, enough to devastate the city below if it was not stopped. Leora turned to Kale, her expression urgent but calm. "This is the true test, Kale. We must neutralize it before it reaches the surface. Can you help?" Kale analyzed the weapon's energy signature, noting the patterns in its pulses and the weak points in its structure. Leora coordinated the palace's defenses, redirecting energy shields and sending messages to allied ships for support. They worked together seamlessly, their skills complementing each other perfectly. Kale realized that this was more than a challenge. It was an opportunity to show what humans could truly achieve. Using his engineering knowledge, he designed a series of countermeasures that relied on both human intuition and the advanced technology of Cyrintha. He calculated trajectories, synchronized energy pulses, and created a plan to disable the weapon without causing catastrophic damage. As the ancient weapon advanced, Kale and Leora executed their plan. Energy shields hummed, beams of light shot across the sky, and the weapon fired its first destructive pulse. Kale's countermeasures intercepted it, redirecting the energy harmlessly into space. Time after time, he adjusted, adapted, and improvised, never losing focus. Finally, with a precise calculation and a bold maneuver, the weapon was neutralized. It collapsed safely into a controlled chamber far from the city, rendering it harmless. Cheers erupted throughout the palace as allies and citizens realized the danger had passed. Leora turned to Kale, her eyes shining with gratitude and admiration. "You did it, Kale," she said. "You saved Sirentha. Not just with technology, but with courage, intelligence, and human ingenuity. I am proud of you." Their strength lay not only in skill or courage, but in their creativity, adaptability, and willingness to act when others hesitated. The days that followed were filled with rebuilding and preparation. Kale and Leora worked together to strengthen alliances, repair damaged systems, and ensure the stability of Sirentha's rule. Kale's human perspective proved invaluable in these efforts. He noticed details others missed, suggested innovative solutions, and mediated disputes with fairness and insight. One evening, Kale and Leora walked through the palace gardens. The floating plants glowed softly in the moonlight, casting reflections on the streams of water that floated in the air. The city below shimmered with lights, a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of its people. "You have done more than I imagined, Kale," Leora said softly. "You have shown me what humans are truly capable of. Your courage, your mind, and your heart, these are the qualities that will help shape the future of Sirentha." "I'm glad it helped." The journey had been long, dangerous, and filled with tests, but it had also shown him the value of trust, loyalty, and human ingenuity. He realized that the promise he had made as a child was more than words. It was a commitment to courage, to care, and to face challenges head-on. And he had done exactly that. The next day, Kale helped organize a summit with leaders from allied planets. They discussed trade, defense, and cultural exchange, all guided by Kale's insight and Leora's leadership. For the first time, Kale felt the full impact of human influence in the galaxy. Species that had once underestimated humans now looked at them with respect, recognizing their intelligence, resourcefulness, and moral strength. Kale also noticed something else, a growing admiration and connection with Leora. She was no longer just the girl from his past. She was a leader, a thinker, and a partner in vision. Together, they complemented each other perfectly. Leora's wisdom and strategic mind combined with Kale's ingenuity and adaptability to create solutions no one else could achieve. One evening, as they watched the twin moons rise over the horizon, Leora spoke quietly. "Kale, I asked you to come here because of a promise, but staying and helping Sirentha, choosing to be here with me, is a choice you make every day. Do you understand that? Not because of a promise alone, but because of what we can do together. Humans can face great challenges, and I want to face them with you. And the galaxy will see what humans can do when they act with courage, intelligence, and heart." Every problem he solved, every threat he neutralized, reinforced the message that humans were not to be underestimated. Finally, a sense of calm returned to the palace. The immediate threats had passed, alliances were stronger than ever, and Sirentha was secure. Kale walked with Leora through the gardens once more, reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. He had traveled across space, faced danger, solved impossible problems, and proven the worth of humanity in a galaxy that often overlooked them. "You have done well, Kale," Leora said softly. "You have honored your promise, shown the strength of your character, and revealed the true power of humans. I am proud to stand beside you." The palace floated above the city, a symbol of resilience and hope. Kale understood that the challenges they had faced were only the beginning of a greater journey, one that would test them further but also show the galaxy the strength, ingenuity, and heart of humanity. The stars twinkled like distant witnesses, and Kale knew that together, he and Leora could face anything. Humans had proven themselves capable of incredible feats, and now, at the heart of Sirentha, Kale had the chance to show the galaxy just how extraordinary humanity could be. And as he looked at Leora, the queen he had promised to, Kale realized that the promise of childhood had grown into something far greater, a partnership of trust, courage, and shared purpose that would shape the future of worlds. Kale stood at the balcony of the palace, overlooking Sirentha's glittering city below. The air shimmered with the glow of energy streams and floating gardens, painting a serene but powerful scene. It was hard to believe how far he had come, from running through the forests of Urendor with Leora as a child, to traveling across the stars, facing danger, and now standing in the heart of her kingdom. Everything felt larger, more real, and yet the bond that had begun on a hilltop so many years ago remained the same. Leora joined him, her presence calm yet commanding. She leaned beside him, her gaze sweeping over the city. "Kale," she said softly, "we have faced challenges that I never thought possible, threats to my rule, dangers in the galaxy, and tests that have tried every part of you. Yet you have proven yourself, not just through courage and skill, but through wisdom, ingenuity, and heart. You have honored your promise." It was more than a word. It was a responsibility, a bond, and a measure of character. "Leora," he said, "I made that promise as a boy, but staying here, helping you and your people, and facing everything together, this is my choice. Not just because of the promise, but because I respect and trust you, and I want to stand beside you." Then the promise is fulfilled in the right way. Not because a child said it, but because the man you have become chose to honor it, willingly and with purpose. Kale understood that to truly fulfill his promise, he had to do more than stand beside her. He had to show the galaxy the strength and honor of humanity. The first step was diplomacy. Kale accompanied Leora to meetings with leaders from allied planets. He observed, asked questions, and offered solutions that others had overlooked. He negotiated trade routes that balanced resource needs, mediated disputes, and proposed defense plans that minimized risk while maximizing protection. Slowly, his human perspective gained respect. Leaders who had once doubted now looked to him as an example of ingenuity, courage, and fairness. Kale found himself thinking about the ways humans thrived. They were not the strongest species nor the fastest, but they had a combination of intelligence, creativity, and empathy that allowed them to overcome challenges others could not. Every decision he made reinforced this truth. Humans could adapt, improvise, and inspire, even among the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. One afternoon, a messenger arrived with troubling news. A distant colony had experienced a natural disaster, a massive energy storm that threatened to destroy the settlement. Leora and her council debated sending aid, but the journey would be dangerous, and there were concerns about losing ships and personnel. Kale stepped forward. "We can help," he said calmly. "We have the technology, and we can plan a route that minimizes risk." Humans have always solved problems like this with creativity and courage. We should not let fear stop us from helping others. Using advanced Sirenthan technology and his own human ingenuity, he calculated the safest path through the storm, reinforced the shuttles with temporary shields, and guided the fleet to the colony. When they arrived, Kale organized the evacuation, repaired damaged systems, and stabilized the environment. By the time the storm passed, not a single life was lost, and the colony remained intact. The success of the mission sent a powerful message across the galaxy. Humans were capable, resourceful, and courageous. Kale's actions inspired admiration, and even some of the most skeptical leaders began to see humans as partners to be respected, not outsiders to be ignored. Back at the palace, Leora greeted Kale with a proud smile. "You have done more than I could have hoped. You have shown the galaxy what humans are capable of, and you have kept your promise not just with words, but with action." Humans had faced the impossible and survived, and now he had proven that in the heart of the galaxy. But the personal part of the promise remained. Kale and Leora had grown closer during these trials. Their bond was no longer just a childhood memory. It had become a partnership based on respect, admiration, and shared purpose. Every challenge they faced together deepened that connection. Kale admired her wisdom, her ability to lead, and her dedication to her people. Leora admired his courage, his ingenuity, and the way he never gave up even when situations seemed hopeless. One evening, as the twin moons of Cyrentha rose over the horizon, Leora spoke quietly. "Kale, the promise was made when we were children. But I want to know if you truly wish to continue it, not out of obligation but because you want to. Will you stand beside me, not just as a partner in duty, but in life?" "I choose to stand beside you, face whatever comes, and share this journey together." Citizens and leaders gathered in the palace to witness the union of Kale and Leora, a symbolic and personal partnership that represented not just love, but the strength of humanity and the power of alliances across the galaxy. Kale was honored not just as a man who had kept a promise, but as a human whose courage, ingenuity, and heart had made a lasting impact. The ceremony was simple yet beautiful. Kale and Leora stood together, hands intertwined, looking out over a city that had faced danger and emerged stronger. Leora's people cheered, leaders nodded in respect, and Kale felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He had traveled across stars, faced unimaginable challenges, and proven the worth of humans in a galaxy that had often doubted them. After the celebration, Kale and Leora walked through the palace gardens. The floating plants glowed softly, casting reflections on the streams of water suspended in the air. The city below sparkled, alive with energy and hope. "We've come far," Leora said, her voice gentle. "But this is only the beginning. There are still challenges ahead, but I know that together we can face anything. Then let us begin this new journey, not just as a queen and her partner, but as allies, friends, and equals. Together, we will lead, explore, and show the galaxy what humans and Cyrenthan cooperation can achieve." The promise had begun as a simple vow on a hilltop long ago, but it had grown into something far greater, a partnership built on courage, ingenuity, and respect. Humans had proven their worth in ways few could imagine, and now Kale had the honor of standing at the heart of this new era. As they gazed at the stars above, Kale reflected on the journey. He had faced cosmic dangers, navigated political intrigue, solved impossible problems, and learned the true meaning of courage and ingenuity. He had seen what humans were capable of when they acted with heart, intelligence, and determination. And now, by standing beside Leora, he could shape the future, not just for Cyrentha, but for humanity in the galaxy. The night air was calm, filled with the glow of energy streams and the gentle hum of the city below. Kale felt at peace. The journey had been long, but every challenge had strengthened him, taught him, and prepared him for this moment. He had honored his promise, proven the strength of humanity, and found a partner who shared his vision, courage, and heart. In that quiet moment, Kale understood something profound. Humanity's true strength was not in weapons or numbers, but in creativity, courage, adaptability, and compassion. It was in the willingness to face the impossible and to rise above it. And as he looked at Leora, he knew that together they could achieve anything. The stars above glimmered like distant witnesses to their journey. The palace floated above the city, a symbol of resilience, hope, and the future. Kale felt the weight of the promise, now fulfilled, and the excitement of the journey still ahead. He knew that challenges would continue, but humans had proven time and again that they could face the unknown and thrive. Kale took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air and the warmth of Leora's hand in his. The promise had started as a simple childhood vow, but it had become a testament to human courage, ingenuity, and heart. Together, Kale and Leora would lead, explore, and shape the galaxy, proving that humanity was capable of greatness beyond measure. And as the twin moons of Cyrentha rose high in the sky, Kale felt a deep, unshakable certainty. They were ready for whatever the future held. The stars above were theirs to explore, the galaxy theirs to influence, and the promise of courage, ingenuity, and partnership theirs to fulfill. Humanity had triumphed, and together they would continue to shine.